All right, it's that time once again to take a walk into the world of the papers, the stories, the headlines making the rounds, analysis, and your thoughts and contributions will follow as well. This is Freshly Pressed on Smooth Breakfast right here on Smooth 98.1. This is your love music, love live station. It's a feel good Friday morning. It's the 16th day of May 2025, 31 minutes past 7 a.m. Great weather out there, cool weather in the studio. That's why I'm wrapped up in my winter's best. My name is Ayokunmi. Great to have you join us for the final time this week on the show. It's been a fantastic week, and we're looking forward to closing things up on an amazing note as always. Once again, welcome to another interactive session. Join us on WhatsApp. Share your thoughts, your messages, your perspectives. We love to hear from you always. 0809 444 0981. That is the WhatsApp number. We're also on YouTube streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. So you can catch up with us there. Leave a comment in the chat box as well. Joining me on a Friday, as they always do, to take a look at the stories, AB Bozimo, and of course, Joseph Obari with me on the call. Good morning to you, AB. Good morning to you, Joseph.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Honorable Joseph. As I observe you on the screen, I guess this is the fallout of your birthday this past week. You're very welcome, and good morning to all of our wonderful listeners out there.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, B. Good morning, listeners. It's nice to be here again. I hope it's going to be a very exciting session.
Oh, it definitely is going to be a very exciting session. There's always excitement when it comes to taking a look at the stories that are in the papers. And talking about excitement, AB, let us keep the excitement levels as high as possible and step into The Guardian, first of all, and talk about that bill seeking to make voting compulsory for Nigerians of voting age. Well, on Thursday, it scaled second reading in the House of Representatives. Now, it's titled a bill for an act to amend the Electoral Act 2022 to make it mandatory for all Nigerians of majority age to vote in all national and state elections and for related matters. Why do these bills have such long names? Anyways, the proposed legislation seeks to introduce compulsory voting for eligible Nigerians. This actually came up some weeks ago. We talked about this, and different thoughts were put forward as to whether or not this was the right way to go, and so on and so forth. Well, it has scaled second reading. Now, this particular bill proposes imposing a maximum of 6 months imprisonment or a fine of no more than 100,000 naira for Nigerians of voting age who fail to vote during elections. I can already think of a number of loopholes, really. But AB, is this the right approach to getting Nigerians to come out to vote in the various polls during elections?
Let me first of all start by shooting the messenger. The person who is a co-sponsor of this bill is somebody from Jos Basa North Federal Constituency, Daniel Asama, who cannot find the time to go and talk about the people being murdered in his state, in the Middle Belt. This is what he believes is a priority. So I've now finished with the messenger. Let me go to the moronic content of the bill. Why on earth do you want to compel people to do a civic duty like voting? Have you heard the statement about a good product barely needing marketing? If there was something that people derived from elections that they were able to associate with their good, I'm fairly confident that more of us would engage in voting. I want to believe that based on the promises that INEC made last voting cycle, this may have driven, one, people to collect their voters card, and two, to turn up for the election. INEC failed at the presidential election to deliver on their promise. I didn't say they didn't carry the election, but they had a glitch that, unlike the jam thing, has till today not been properly explained. So now you are saying you want to compel people and putting the potential of punishment to people who don't vote. As you said, there could be any number of reasons. Somebody could be away from their voting place. Instead of you to actually vote for electoral reforms that make voting electronically from anywhere possible, because we all know, I think it was the NBA, Joseph them, that started with this electronic voting, and so many other professional bodies have done it, and it has proven to be a very seamless way for people to vote from anywhere in the world. it is possible that instead of us wasting that 320 billion naira we waste on INEC every time, always increasing, we give a fraction of that to the developer community in Nigeria, the tech bros and the tech gals, and they'll give us a stone cold, well-informed voting system that, like ATMs, anywhere you go across the surface of planet Earth, and maybe even on the moon, if you put your ATM card into an ATM, it pulls up one account only, your account, and you can now transact. So if we can do something like that similar with voting, why shouldn't we? But we waste every voting cycle, we waste money given to INEC to feed dogs and feed horses and witness ballot boxes being randomly trashed. All this to say, you should not ordinarily need to compel people to do something that they perceive is in their best interest. To go ahead and waste legislative time and also waste your furniture allowance and waste the car allowance that got you to that hall and waste the newspaper allowance that some of you can barely read because they are semi-literate, and tell me that you want to put potential of a fine on me if I don't vote, when all of you in that office have not made Nigeria net better, I think it's a waste of time, and would be the Nigerian populace would be much better served by thoughtful legislation advanced by reasonable human beings rather than this wasteful waste of time by this wasteful legislature. The fact that the National Assembly is even taking the second reading shows me that as a collective, they have no sense of purpose or reason why they're in that chamber. I think this thing should be stepped down, thrown aside, shredded, and disposed of like the rubbish it fundamentally represents.
All right, before we leave this story, Joseph, I actually want to get your thoughts on this, because looking at other countries around the world, I mean, Nigeria will be the first country to actually make voting compulsory. Countries like Argentina, Australia, Belgium, and some other countries actually do. Now, Australia is the only country that um, penalizes those that actually don't go out to vote. In those other countries I mentioned, there's no penalty if you do. I mean, it's mandatory, but it's not penalized at the end of the day. But my point here is, looking at Nigeria's very unique ecosystem, shouldn't the strong focus be finding out, okay, why do we have a high number of those registered to vote and extremely low turnout, probably the lowest turnout in the whole of the African continent? Why are we so hell-bent on not focusing on the root cause, just try to treat symptoms at the end of the day? I mean, what's the guarantee that, okay, you make sure people go out to vote by force? What if people decide, oh, you're forcing me to go out, then I go out and mess up the ballot or something like that? I mean, deal with the
It's
main
not,
issues. Why aren't we focusing on that?
it goes beyond just there are many fundamental issues with our voting process, our electoral processes. You are talking about violence, which is engineered by politicians, desperate politicians, which in itself is a disincentive to any voter. I value my life more than anything. If I want, I'm not sure if I go out, I'll be safe. I don't. If I'm not sure, why should I go out to vote? So we saw in 2023 election violence, people being beaten up, all kinds of things happening to people who were trying to perform their civic responsibility.
Mm,
You've not addressed that. You've not addressed the inefficiencies that Ebi alluded to in his speech, which are fundamental. You have not addressed issues of how you can make voting more inclusive and seamless, like electronic voting. The truth is that the members of House of Reps that are arguing over this are simply just diversionary. They are not willing to face the truth. They don't want to look at the truth and resolve the issue. They are pushing the responsibility for the bad things happening in the country to the citizens. So it's another way of avoiding the issue. The fundamental reforms in the electoral processes are being ignored deliberately, and they're seeking diversion. So what I expect is that there should be Nigerians who will feel. I don't even expect this. I'll be shocked. I'll really be shocked if this bill goes to Senate for concurrence or anything. I doubt if it is going to pass that level. So yeah,
All right.
I feel confident that somehow, somewhere along the line, it's going to die a natural death. And then, of course, even if he passes that, I doubt if the president will assent to such a bill.
All
So
right.
I'm not really worried, but it helps to reveal the kind of people we have as our representatives. And Abi's words have just described what they are. They are just wasting our time, valuable time, and so on. You
All right.
know,
Thank you for that,
so
Joseph.
in Nigerians need to take actions. They can actually go to after they go to court and ask the court to strike down such a law if they feel so.
All right.
And
AB.
just as an example, even though in the debate, the people who shouted nay were louder, they still push this forth. So that just tells you that even in their own hall, they don't believe in representation or democratic opinion. People shouted nay louder, but they took the ayes, just so they have a sense of the people who are quote unquote debating this rubbish.
All right, let's get back into the stories, Joseph. I will stay with you on this one, and still talking about our lawmakers. Let's talk about another bill. Now, this one mandating Nigeria's ministries, departments, and agencies, the MDAs, to prioritize the procurement of locally manufactured vehicles has passed second reading in the Senate. Now, the Deputy Senate President Barao Jibrin, who presided over Thursday's plenary session, announced the passage after the majority of the senators supported it through voice votes. Now, following its passage, the bill was referred to the Senate Committee on Public Procurement for further deliberation and a public hearing as well. Now, the bill also proposed that 75% of official vehicles used by public officials and civil servants must be manufactured in Nigeria and not merely a set of this one, Joseph. I mean, we've talked about this issue of Nigeria first and so on and so forth. We discussed it a couple of weeks ago, last week, a couple of weeks ago as well. Now, looking at our current lawmakers, if this bill does pass, will this then be, oh, we're going to procure new cars for you now, or is it going to be for future public officials and lawmakers? Because when it comes to cars, they get very excited.
Oh, well, the truth is that they are very careful in the choice of words in the
Mm,
formation of the bill. They're saying that MDAs should prioritize. It's not that it's compulsory. In this case, they are not making it compulsory. They are saying they should prioritize, which means that you have a leeway you can, and they even have a percentage of what you should buy. So it covers them. They don't need to buy any Nigerian car. But you see, if we're a country of honest people, we don't need to be persuaded to do something as patriotic as this. We don't even need a bill from the National Assembly to tell a government agency that they should buy vehicles made in Nigeria. Because simple economic and understanding will mean that it means that it creates more job for people, it helps the economy and all that, all that, and all that, and all that. But we are a country where we never really believe in ourselves. We never appreciate whatever we have. It's anything that is foreign that is better. And that's also because in our character, we don't make anything well. Don't do anything well.
mm.
Have you tried to buy a wheelbarrow? Wheelbarrow. If you buy a wheelbarrow in Nigeria, you have to go take it to the welder to fortify it.
That's a brand new wheelbarrow.
Yes, when I was growing up, the wheelbarrows made in Nigeria were solid as rocks and painted green and fine, and rakes, you use rakes
Mm.
and you get tired. Now you get tired of using it. These days you can't even get anything made in Nigeria. You have to you struggle to get value out of it. So when even when we go to import, we deliberately go and import substandard version of everything we sell in this country. When you have citizens like that, who don't love themselves, who don't even love their country, they don't love their people, they are the ones you will now have in ministries. So they will import cars because they make more money from it. Because during that process of importing and so on, they could factor in their own interest. So something is wrong in our moral fabric, our identity as a people, our orientation, the way we look at things is totally wrong. So it's a deeper problem than just members of National Assembly are just representing who we are. Even our thought processes in the way we look at things, the kind of values we have. They are not they are not from alien, they are not aliens, they're not from Mars. They are from among us.
Right.
And it's the worst of us that will always be projected by nature. Let's face it. Because if you give an average Nigerian opportunity, he will not do better than members of the National Assembly. The average Nigerian, there may be exceptions, few people, But then the greater majority of Nigerians won't act and do different things than what you're saying. So it is sad. So maybe if this law is made into law, yeah, it will nudge people to begin to act in that way. So it will help. But as National Assembly members, this is when your president is buying Escalade at a very expensive car or to drive in a country where people can't feed, buying himself a yacht and all kinds of things like what message does it send? So everybody takes a cue from your body language and they do the same thing. In your person, these are profligate people who just spend money anyhow. Civil servants in
We
Nigeria
are where
are
we
as
are.
bad as our civil servants are not better than the politicians. So it's like a cycle. They influence one another. This one influences the other. This influences the other. So everybody is just taking care of himself.
Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. AB, real quick.
Just one word. You notice how for this one, they are suggesting, they are urging, they are proposing, but for the voting, they are mandating. You can see when it comes to what can affect them.
You're muted,
in
AB.
terms of,
Okay.
sorry, when it comes to what can affect them so that they will not be able to import cars, that one is just a suggestion. Think of it, consider it. But when the one that has implications on the lives of people, that one they want to mandate it. But most importantly, you're talking about importing and making cars, which is fine, it's part of the economy. How about talking about public transit systems? Because truly speaking, on the long term, the more advanced societies have better public transit systems. What is this focus on cars? How about we start making public transit more efficient, more affordable, more available? That kind of legislative work could make a difference in the lives of ordinary people.
All right. Let me take a couple of messages. I mean, they've lined up longer than a 20-foot python in the Amazon forest before they begin to choke me at the end of the show. Let me get your thoughts in before we get back into the stories. AB Tinu says legislators pass all bills than actual important matters, and she added a hiss. Why will voting be made mandatory? How will they enforce this? Do they even have data of all citizens? Jokers, they can't even do electronic voting in their chambers. All right. And it's actually I think that hiss I learned recently it's called stoops or something like that. Yes, I was stooped when I saw it. The English language is a wonderful thing, really and truly. This is Ajayi Olonilowa Magudu Jerry Sherry. He says the bill to compel Nigerians to vote or face jail time is laughable and a waste of precious time. Instead, they should urgently pass the bill to jail politicians who carry voters' mandates to the camp to another political party. All right. Ibrahim Zakari says, the National Assembly of this country will never cease to amuse me. Jail who? How? I laugh. Thank you, AB. You killed the bill, even when the bill, in my opinion, was dead on arrival. Just like another bill of buying made in Nigeria vehicles. Lead by example first. In fact, it's a waste of our time. I'm surprised AB did not call it preposterous. And let me take one more here. Abayomi Animashan says, it's ironic how loudly we complain about leadership in Nigeria, yet so many shy away from the very process that shapes it. I wonder why, Abayomi. We can't expect change if we consistently remove ourselves from the responsibility of choosing who leads us. A better Nigeria starts with informed participation. Let's stop sitting on the sidelines get involved, vote, and help shape the future.
That
He
is
further
if they
says,
allow you to participate. For goodness sake, we are saying that we are not being allowed to participate as we want to what to do. How do you participate when people are carrying arms and chasing you all over the place and beating you up? How do you participate when you cannot vote from your comfort of your home? That's what we're talking about.
he further says, but this won't fly. And he says violation of personal freedom. That one of the most fundamental principles of democracy is the freedom of choice. All right. Thank you for your message there. Thank you for the messages. Keep them coming. I will get to all of them before the end of the show, even though, man, looks like traffic on Third Mainland Bridge. But AB, we need to get more of these stories in. And we're going to take a step into where we're going to. We're going to take a step into the premium times. Yes. Now, this one is talking about the Lagos State University, LASU, and the University of Ilorin, that's Unilorin. And they've commended the registrar of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAM, that's Professor Ishak Oloyede, for transparency and accountability in handling the glitches that affected the results of some candidates who sat for the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examinations, that's the UTME. Um, I won't go further than that, AB, but I mean, are we at a point in our collective lives as Nigerians where the barest of the barest minimum, what is expected, is lauded and made to seem like it's out of the ordinary? I mean, if he didn't take responsibility and so on and accountability, would you or I do that?
Maybe you, Ayo, because you are employed by JAMB or you are the one overseeing JAMB, or maybe me as a commentator. Two four-letter acronyms, INEC and JAMB. Let me contrast. There was a glitch with INEC. Till today, nobody has explained it. With JAMB, at the very least, somebody acknowledged the glitch and attempted to explain how it happened. Now, while we're getting all these hagiographic, descriptions of, oh, how laudable Professor Ishak is, let's not forget there were lawsuits threatened. There was also a group of people who had taken specific care to try and track these results. There was an internal breach of procedures where 17 uploads did not happen. And then suddenly on the 18th one, it started happening. So yes, technological glitches do happen. I've been on air here when the networks have thrown me off. I'm not saying, but I've said it's the network throwing me off, not me just pulling my plug and pretending I don't know what happened. Then we're talking about, oh, he cried. He has tear ducts like most human beings. And he has emotions. And I deeply believe part of the cause of the cry was the realizing that at least one child committed self-deletion because of her perceived results. So I want to give him credit for that, but that is not the issue. In any sane organization, the person who claims to have taken full responsibility steps down. Or if they don't have the completeness of character to step down, they are told to leave. So right now, listen, there's credit. I'm giving credit where credit is due. JAMB is attempting to understand the underlying fundamentals. But as we're speaking, in the next, say, 6 minutes, some people are supposed to start an exam at centers that some of them may have traveled away from. First of all, you find the fault. Was it proper to just immediately reset the exam? I think they doth protest too much. Credit due, he has taken responsibility. If you want to finish the work, step aside. Then I would now say, truly, you recognize the flaw, and since you took responsibility, you stepped aside. There's an argument to be made for him wanting to stay there and follow through with the solutions. But in my view, there are 200 plus million Nigerians and many other people who can do that and give him and maintain the credit due to him when due. So all this, painting him in this bright light, I just think is eye service, completely unnecessary. Children have been traumatized. Parents have been traumatized. A society have been traumatized with 78% failure, not because of him. And I will tell you that in that exam, some people scored well over 300. So it's not that the whole exam was bad or anything, but
Right.
at times like this, if you truly want to show that you feel responsible, step out of the office. Then I can give you wholehearted praise for not just acknowledging fault, but also truly walking the walk of taking responsibility. Not before here, then you take responsibility. Take the responsibility and step out of that office.
It's deeper. This whole thing. Nigerians are dancing. Oh, look there. Oh, he has been done well. That's a story in Nigeria. You do the barest, the most basic thing, and people are falling all over. The same thing we do with governance. When they build a road for you, oh, the governor is a performing governor. What
Wonder.
basically, it's a responsibility of somebody to do. It's rocket science for us. Oh, it's wonderful. My son had this exam, and when he came out of the exam, he was like, his mathematics shut him out before he could finish.
He's in Abuja, not in Lagos
Ah.
or Owerri zone.
No,
Here
no,
you go.
this was in Uyo, but luckily at the end of the day, he still came out with over 300. He scored 324.
There
Yeah,
you
but
go.
he was himself. He was hoping to get something higher than that.
Lion, not
So
a born goat.
what happens to that? What happens to the fact that okay you will say, oh, over 300 it's all that, but if he's had a loss,
Yes.
what happens to it? What happens to the loss he's
Exactly.
had? Yeah,
Exactly.
so you could have scored higher, possibly. So these are all the things, and then my heart goes out to the family that suffered this huge loss of a girl who
Honestly,
just
felt
couldn't
so
bear.
dismayed.
She sat the exam last year, scored over more than what the 190 she got now, and she couldn't believe how she could have, if she couldn't get admission with scoring over 190, how would 190 give her admission? And then she decided to end things, in a flash, and before she could tell people what was going on, it was too late, and she's gone.
Very
So
unfortunate
the
situation.
of emotion and all that, and with sentiments, and that what but the important is that some people are not taking all this display of regret and so on. People are actually asking for him to resign. There are
I
calls
concur.
for him to.
Yes, indeed. All right. Let me take the messages because there are so many of them. Nigerians have a lot to say about these issues this morning. All right, let me begin. Okay, Abayemi just sent a message once again. I was already on his chat here, so I'll just take it. So on the JAM issue, in conclusion, while Professor Oloyede's tenure has seen notable reforms, the recent UTME challenges necessitate a critical evaluation of JAM's leadership and operations. He should resign or step aside or be sacked. Any one of the two. And this is Chidioze. He says, yes, there were glitches, which they didn't admit initially, but that wasn't the story when the results were hastily released to the public to shame Nigerian students. If not for the aggressive probes by them on social media, the JAMB registrar wouldn't have come publicly to shed crocodile tears. All right, Adi in Lagos says, okay, this is Dio in Lagos says, this rubber stamp Senate is the worst in history. They only think about their money, luxurious lifestyles, and hypocrisy. You haven't passed electoral reforms. You haven't passed bills of. Is there any bill of execution, Dio? Please, I'm not aware of
Since you
anyone.
want to be like China, one party state, at least in China, they execute people who are corrupt.
They didn't pass the state police bill. They didn't remove. They removed the president for lack of capacity, incompetence, visionless, and wasteful looting of our national cake, and so on and so forth. It's a shame the worst of us are ruling the best of us. Your messages are usually long. I have to summarize, but thank you for sharing it with us this morning. AY Inuniru says, how many Nigerians do they want to jail? They're just playing. On the Jan issue, Nigerians are just beginning to wake up and demand accountability. If this thing had happened 10 to 15 years ago, nobody would have protested and it would be business as
We didn't have
usual.
social media then as strong as it is today. So yeah, it's
And
good.
people ready to dig into the technology behind the scenes as well.
Right. This is Mary in Ikeja says, my child's paper is scheduled for 6:30 a.m. Jam, why? These are the issues
Imagine.
that we're
So
talking
the
about.
person has already started. Before we started this show, the person is supposed to have started 6:30 a.m. That already was a crime scene in itself. The thoughtlessness of JAM. But according to the news, they said you were not supposed to start the paper at 6:30. You were supposed to report at the place, in fairness to JAM.
Well, there were reports that Some candidates actually started at 6:30. There are reports about that as
Wow.
well. Yes. So,
Wow. That's ridiculous and truly preposterous.
yes, indeed. This is Ovis in Yaba says, when will the voting system in the Senate be made electronic to prevent rigging when motions are moved?
Here we
Big
go.
question. Big question there,
And if they
Ovis.
don't vote, and when they don't turn up, should they also be jailed? Because half of the time the Senate chamber is empty.
Don Kelvin says, stuped, short for stupefied. Well, the stupes in question is STEUPS. I was also stupefied when I discovered that. So that's something for you this morning.
Google,
Gilbert
here we
Musa,
come.
Gilbert Musa says, like AB said, the focus should be on the ease of public transport. Railway transport in Lagos ought to be top-notch. Today, considering its origin in Ebutemeta in Lagos since 1898. 1898 is a long time ago. Here we are in 2025, and not so much has changed. Tinu says, this jam story irritates me so much. Were they not meant to validate these things before announcements were made? Should there not be checks? The whole story is so annoying, to be honest. All right, let me see if I can squeeze a few more in. Zeman in Bristol says, sometimes when I see the kind of things the National Assembly people bring up, I just shake my head in shame for the nation. And please, okay, the reception. Oh, okay. It's kind of unclear. Oh, all right. Thank you, Zeman, for the feedback. I will definitely escalate that to the engineers that will work on that one. Thank you for the feedback, and thank you for always keeping it tuned as well. Ibuku Nketu says, thank you, AB and Joseph. It's a joke that they want to criminalize non-voting. Is it even constitutional? Can we also criminalize government functionaries not doing their jobs? Australia keeps to social contracts. Can we say the same for Nigeria? What about violence to keep people from the polls? If they pass the law, what will they do if people void their votes on purpose? I alluded to that as well. Now, what if they
Very
say, oh,
good
you want to force me to vote?
questions.
What if I void my vote? What then
Very good
is the benefit?
questions.
Sunday in Surulere says, penalty for not voting. I laugh in PVC. These lawmakers have finally lost it. You can't force me to waste my time and risk my life to participate in an exercise where you cannot even guarantee my safety. Who's talking to us here? Let me see. I smell a kind of setup of the JAM registrar. Niger Factor in action. Good morning. Who else is talking to us? Let me see. Tally says, on the JAM head not resigning, Niger by nature or culture, including corporate culture, does not include resignation after accepting responsibility. I have seen folks accept responsibility in inexplicable negligence and incompetence, and are recognized for owning up. In corporate private, it is called being vulnerable. All right, and let me take one more. Ooh, okay, messages lined up. Tajuddin says, God bless you, AB and Joseph. I still believe that these folks uh, God bless you, AB and Joseph. People still believe that these folks have our goodwill at heart. They are a bunch of corrupt kleptomania. No, I will not say that word. They care less if we live or die. Why should I vote when I'm hungry and I know for certain that my vote doesn't mean a thing to them? And Tony Marine Beach says, here they go again, putting the cart before the horse. Instead of addressing issues of ballot box snatching, harassment of voters, and all issues around insecurity during voting, as well as INEC's failures to distribute voters' cards and on-the-spot result uploads while you vote, and maybe possibly looking at voting from the comfort of your home. They're not trying to force the electorate to go out and die. The bill can pass the 20th reading for all I care. They should rather introduce no retreat, no surrender bill so that we can understand that it is violence meet violence on the days of election. Our lawmakers are indeed very intelligent. Thank you for the message, and thank you all for all the messages. So many messages this morning. Couldn't get through all of them. Apologies for that, but I really appreciate you sending them in the first place. Thank you to you, AB and Joseph, for joining me this Feel Good Friday morning.
Thank you, Ayo. Let's do all we can to have a meaningful, a fabulous Friday and the weekend ahead. Thank you, Sir Joseph. Good morning to all of the wonderful listeners again.
Thank you, Ibi. Thank you, Ayo. It's always good to be here. And listeners who always have been participatory, very active, intelligent people. Greetings to everybody, wherever you are. All the best.
Joseph, we are coming to watch that birthday cake. You
Yes,
can't
we need
finish
to
it.
watch it.
All right, gentlemen, have a great Friday and a great weekend as well. Always a pleasure having you on the show. Lagos,
Always.
Nigeria, the entire world, thank you for being a part of Freshly Pressed this morning. The Smooth Breakfast kicks on. It's all about sports at 8:15 when we take a walk into the locker room.
Yeah.